Well, hello everyone and welcome again to Painless Universal Conversation with myself and Welsh. Well, today's conversation is overcoming pain and finding your joy. There's so many things happening in the world and so many people have grown up in life where they've gone through difficult circumstances. But how do you utilize those difficult circumstances to now find your inner peace and inner joy and find your own creativity? My guest, Oscar Duke, did just that. Let me tell you a little bit about Oscar. He is a British singer, songwriter, and actor. The Kensington, London-based celebrity also boasts early success in his career as a designer and model. One of the places you can find Oscar most of the time is rubbing shoulders with some of the hottest A-lists in the country. Something that doesn't come as a surprise. Coming from a family full of sirs and dames and even Oscar winners, Duke was always destined for big time. His family tree featured Sir Ben Kingsley, uncle, Dame Virginia McCain, auntie, who is arguably best known for her role in Born Free, where she was nominated for a Golden Globe. Dame Penelope Wilton rings any bell, anyone? Another auntie of Oscar, who was famous for her roles in Downton Abbey and Steven Spielberg's new film BFG. Oscar today will be telling us about his own journey, how he's overcome pressure of his own family, coming from such a well-known family, to finding his own space in this world. He will also be talking about his music. We'll talk about his brand that he's launched. That tells a lot about him. I'm really excited to meet our guest, Oscar Duke, as he shares his wonderful story with us and ways we could overcome challenges and still find our joy. Meet my guest, Oscar. Hey, well, hello everyone and welcome again to Painless Universal, a conversation with myself and Welsh. Today's conversation is overcoming circumstances that you might have found yourself, but utilizing those circumstances to find your joy. My guest did just that. Oscar Duke, British singer, songwriter, and actor, the Kensington, London-based celebrity. He also boasts early success in his career as a designer and model. He has so much up his sleeve, and I can't wait to get going on what he has. He has a music coming out, but I don't want to spoil it for any of you guys. I will let him talk about what he has coming up. But before we get started, Oscar Duke, how are you today?
I'm very well, and I'm really happy to be here for such an important cause. So it means a lot.
Oh, thank you so much. I know how busy you are. I know so much is going on in your life at the moment, especially, when we look at things, it's not just you and I. So many people are going through so much. And some things are very, very positive in your case. Some people not so much. Before we get started into all of this, can you tell me a little bit, who are you, Oscar?
So I've always had a passion for creative arts, and me as a person, it's always been healing for me to be involved in anything creative. And through various things, art and singing specifically has always carried me through difficult times. So this is what I really focus on now.
Okay. When you look back, one of the success of people is always stems from their background of the way they grew up and families they were surrounded by. How was your background growing up? Can you just share with me what life was like for you as a little child?
It's a very mixed experience. I grew up in South London, and I found that sometimes I felt very outcasted, and then at other times I felt very included. So I had a mixture of people that I would hang around with from different backgrounds, which gave me a very cultured and mixed up upbringing, obviously. So I had the option to experience life from every angle, which gave me, I suppose, a lot of problems, but at the same time, I suppose I wouldn't take it back or change anything because it's made me who I am today.
That's true. Our problems sometimes makes our pain, whatever it makes us who we are today. Although some people look at pain and make it and take it as a bad thing, but a lot of people like yourself, you just kind of said that it's made you who you are today. What pressures did you have to overcome when you were, when you were living with very prominent families? Your family, when we talk about families, you've come from very prominent families of sirs and dames and even Oscar winners. Do you
Mhm.
think there was some kind of pressures that you had to face because this legacy of your family, and there you are trying to fill in that boot?
Well, funny thing is about that is the pressure came later on when I realized I had to do something. So it's really funny. Everyone gets to the point when you're a teenager where you think, right, I need to get a job. I need to do something with my life. And then, but as you're younger, you're kind of naive, kind of, you can be a little bit more kind of, oh, maybe, life is going to stay the same and I'm not going to have to do anything. Or, you don't really have a concept of growing up and what kind of that entails and how much pressure that can be. But I think specifically with realizing the relatives in my family, their level of success, and being a creative person, it did create some frustration in the beginning because I felt like, would I have to do to be recognized, or what would I have to do to make myself feel worthy of being here on this planet? And the frustration comes from really having a passion and really wanting to do something with that, and not knowing whether it's going to be a success or if people will, if we were well received, and especially with people in the industry who, in the acting fields and the celebrities in my family, it was more like, is that really going to be enough? And what is my talent enough to make me stand out and allow my story to be shared? So it was pressure, yeah.
Yeah, no. And you went to boarding school. Was there any pressure? Because lots of kids now, especially teens in their teenage years, are all in this different stages of their life, going to school, getting lessons of life, growing up. In your life, was it difficult going through boarding school and having to overcome challenges of who your parents and family were?
School was definitely a challenge from, I would say, really young. I think that there's certain things that affect you when you're a child that, you know, if you were thinking with an adult mind, they wouldn't have had that impact. But obviously, growing up and going to school, and I went to school in South London, and when I had good experiences, they were always seemed to be overshadowed by something that was traumatic. And whether that be coming from other people in the school, I mean, everyone always says that kids can be so nasty and hurtful. And I think when you're young, those things stick. And I had a lot of issues in school, a lot from every angle. I was teased, I was outcasted, I felt like the odd one out. I
Mhm.
like to sing Ella Fitzgerald and watch Marilyn Monroe movies, and that wasn't cool, was it? So it was. I was definitely the odd one out. I used to speak quite poshly, and I used to have my accent made fun out of. My nickname was Orange Peel, and I mean, now if someone was to say that, I would laugh and say, whatever. It's made me very, very tough skinned. But at the time, it was really upsetting. And I just remember retreating into my music and singing. I had gospel choir, which I really loved, and performing in the school as well, which kept me sane. And, I'll touch on it a bit later on, which was influences, celebrity singers and people that I looked up to and idolized, who were successful people who I found inspiring and to help me carry through these times that was suffering with in school.
Yeah. You describe as a multi-talented and energetic, you've got this energetic drive. What keeps you eager to explore new avenues? Because you do a lot, especially you have it's just a big mind filled with so much creativity. And what stirred you into this creativity part for your career?
It's interesting that I think it's this need that we have sometimes as humans to feel like we have to be doing something all the time. And as much as I love to be creative, there is definitely like a feeling that if I'm not doing something, what is really the point in being here? So there's elements to it of that.
Mm.
More importantly, I have a passion for singing and arts and creative things. It keeps me sane. It helps me get over trauma. It helps me understand myself on a more deeper level. And when I give my attention to something that's creative, it just gives me a moment just to let go of whatever it is that is really troubling me at the time. And we all go through these things that are so troubling, and to somebody else it might seem like something so small, but no matter what it is, if that means something to us, then that it has that effect, and it can take hold of us. So for me, yeah, the way out has been focusing on those creative things, and it's something that I enjoy doing. So that's it.
What was it like starting out in the music industry? Because I know it's not an easy ride to go through, but what was it like, and what were the misconception you found out when you were actually now in that music industry? What were the things that you found out about industry itself that you're like, okay, this is a tough market to be in?
Yeah, I mean, all I heard from the youngest age is this is not going to work, and you're probably not good enough. And actually, to be honest with you, even if you were good enough, you still probably wouldn't be successful anyway, because it's really tough. And you know, and everyone would say that, and I'd have people giving me their advice actually who were in the industry, who had achieved some success, or maybe they had problems in their careers. So that I had lots of people from lots of different angles saying this is going to be really tough, and it's not going to be fun, and it's going to ruin it for you, because you won't have, you'll have no time, and you'll have no money, and you won't be successful. There was a period of time where that put me off pursuing my dream but I just got to the breaking point where I thought, you know what, this is what I really want to do, and I don't care about any of the consequences. I need to be a singer. I need to be in the studio and be expressing my story through my music. So coming back to I suppose the point of the question, really, how was it starting out? Yeah, there were people that I worked with in the beginning who I employed to help me write and get into the studio. So I was paying. So it's something that I had to invest in. So that was interesting time, because obviously that was a sign of my commitment to myself. That's it, I'm doing it. People have told me that this isn't going to be financially a good idea, but you're throwing money at something that's not going to be successful, and you probably won't make it, and blah blah blah. I was like, no, I'm going to do this. I put some money in aside that I wanted to spend investing in trying to see if I could make my dream work. And I was really lucky to now get to the point where I've met some people who actually want to invest their time in me and nurture me as somebody, as a creative person. So I had to show that level of commitment initially, and it paid off. So now I'm working with people that are investing in me and their time. I have a label and producers and writers that I work with, and they've all been through the same struggles as I have. It's really interesting. It's like one of those things when you want to do something creative or something that's not run of the mill kind of job, 9 to 5. Um, it's a struggle to get there, and you have to really be dedicated. So it was really interesting process, but
Yeah.
yeah.
No, it's never easy. I think, and anything in life, I think, but more especially the creativity side, because it's not like you could just go into medicine and you start training, or you go into engineering, you kind of see your roadmap. With the creativity side, you really have to carve out everything. You have to be the artist, you have to sing, you have to think of the business as well. So there's just so much next to it that I think you have really stuck out to it. You've said, I'm going to make this work. And I think you even said this by quoting that you view music as a way to invoke emotions from your experiences. What do you mean by that?
Well, it's a funny thing about processing emotions, isn't it? Because we all do them in different ways. And I think that how I've noticed that I've coped when I've not been doing the creative things to help me offload the emotion is by maybe going out, having a drink, self-medicating, or, you know, taking a painkiller. Everybody wants to do something to try and ease the pain that they're going through. And or whatever that may be. And if we're being constructive, maybe we'll go and talk to somebody who can really give solid, good advice. And that's amazing if we're able to reach out. And obviously, sometimes we can't do that. But, you know, I know me personally, I generally don't like to ask for help. I'm one of these people that would rather keep all the trauma in and not reach out. And I've done that for years. And it's just my coping mechanism is just to go inward and just not tell anybody what I'm going through. Interestingly now, which is why I'm in a good place now, is that I put it into something that is, I write it down, I put it into a song, or I'll talk to somebody. But I think, yeah, being able to express things, whether that be writing it or talking about it, has changed my life. Making that decision to stop keeping those emotions in and expressing them. Yeah.
Oh, so music, I guess, gives you a voice, which where you're able to express yourself. And
Yeah.
so how do you do that? Do you do that through writing the music or through singing? And what methods do you tend to use to express yourself in music?
So literally putting on a song, singing in the shower, having a moment to myself just to take a minute and let that emotion out. In recent times, I've been writing a lot. I found it really therapeutic to write about my experiences, and actually putting that into a song that people will hear. The thought that potentially my experiences could be healing somebody else in that process, or helping them to understand the situation they've been through, is a really healing in turn for me. Thinking that the possibility that having a platform and having someone to listen to my story could help someone to relate to their own selves in a deeper way.
Yeah. And 2020, when we look back at things, 2020, and still we're going through this pandemic, and a lot of people were locked at home. So in 2020, now in 2021, I think we only got out around March or April. It's February. I can't even remember when we got out. So it was a strange year for many people. But Oscar, no, it wasn't. It was strange for you because everyone was locked down. Everyone was clueless what to do with themselves. Not you. You decided to use this quiet time to make the most of every opportunity present. What motivated you, right? When a lot of people are saying, I don't know what to do with myself. I'm so bored. I'm suffering from mental health pain. I'm feeling sick. I'm feeling claustrophobic. No, not you. You said, look, this is going on. I'm not going to sit here and whine about it. I'm going to even see how could I utilize this time wisely. What motivated you on that path?
It's really interesting, actually, because I think that we all caught in a split situation where we have an option. I suppose it's easy to say that, but I suppose you kind of, when it comes down to it, we've got this experience that has been put into our realities and we have to deal with it in some way. And thankfully, I suppose there were moments actually where I felt like I wasn't really doing what you said. And I don't think I was being that productive. And I don't think I was really, but I think overall, the kind of crux of it is that I was focused. I think it took me a minute to adjust, but I think by the time that I realized the situation, I thought I have no option but to really focus on achieving something within this time period. And obviously, nobody could just jump in and do what they wanted to do. It was a case of adapting. It was a very strange time, but yes, I was focused on doing something that could contribute towards my future and growing something at some point.
Well, if you to describe your music in 2 words or a few more words, how would you describe it? So anyone listening, thinking about, oh gosh, did Oscar's talk? I think we should get his music and listen to it. Well, how would you describe your music?
I don't want to say experimental. And the reason I say that is because I suppose it's interesting to think that somebody could connect with something that I'm doing creatively, but it's still kind of new to me, the thought that I could be connecting with people. So I wouldn't say use that word, but there's an element of unknown in the music that I do, in that if we look at things on a deeper level, the music is an extension of my experiences. So yeah, I would like to say inspirational, and I'd like to say quality. And in that, what I mean is that there's an authenticity in what I'm trying to do. I'm not trying to be a pop star. I'm trying to share a story and connect to people. So.
Wow, that's a very unique way of doing it. Because we always think of sharing a story and connect to people is either through podcast, but you're using music and to talk to people, share your stories, share experiences, because what you write about is a lot of what you're feeling at the time. And so anyone who listens to it can understand these are some of your feelings and how you overcame that challenge that you went through, or how you found your joy along that way. What are some of the music artists that has inspired you along the way?
So Mariah Carey saved my life a lot of times in school and when I was growing up in my teens. I distinctly remember a few songs of hers being incredibly empowering in very dark moments, and really, in fact, saving me from all sorts of difficult things. So I'm very, very, very grateful for Mariah Carey. And of course, I adore her voice, but the messages in her songs are so empowering. So thank you to her. Big thank you to modern artists like Ariana Grande for showing people how to riff and run, and actually do vocal acrobatics again, and reminding us that that you can be pint size and still hit a hell of a lot of powerful notes, and it doesn't matter how big or small you are or who you are. If you have a passion for doing what you want to do, you can do it. So Ariana Grande, Mariah Carey, there are so many other artists that really inspire me, but those are the two main ones.
Anyone who hear this conversation will think you're just into music, not knowing there's this big creative side behind you. You're also into the world of fashion. I think one of the ways I met you was through your fashion. You just looked so perfect. And I watched a video about you, and you always said, I'm nervous about meeting someone because if I meet somebody, I want the person that if I go to events, I go to these presentation, I want that person looking like me, dressed kind of like me. And I was like, that is so Oscar. He is I'm not surprised he would say that, yes, because it's just how you are presented. It's almost like you think about it. I mean, you went as far before you went for the dates. You went as far as going to your beautician to make sure things were perfect. What led you to this mission to launch your brand, Duke?
So actually, the interesting thing is, coming back to what you were saying about the image, it's almost like it's like the evil that comes along with being in the industry, because we all know that a lot of what we see online is fake, and a lot of what we see edited down videos or these reality shows isn't reality. In all honesty, I have to be interested in my image, because obviously people are buying into the whole idea of me as an artist, and so yeah, I feel like I have to portray myself in a certain way. There has been a lot of pressure that's come along with that. In terms of me finding a partner and something and that, I really, and friends and things, I couldn't care what they were wearing. I just, what matters to me is the heart. But yeah, I mean, it has inspired me. Being a singer and doing what I do in the creative industries, it has inspired me to launch projects that are image focused. So so specifically my own personal brand, obviously me working with brands, and I was doing some influencing for some time, working with brands and things like that. So it's something that I've kind of been not sucked into. It's something that I've been it's been the logical thing for me to do. And of course I love luxury brands, and I love myself, and I love to buy things and treat myself. So it's just been something that a natural evolution of the image that I guess that we feel like we need. I'd like to not, if we're not to be like that though, I'd really like to be able to focus just on the creative art, but who's going to listen to somebody that doesn't focus on their image, and that they do all they're about is like, in a way, I just don't think it really works, and these days, which is a shame. And I think Instagram's probably a bit to blame about that, and these illusions that we see day to day.
Yeah, no, I love your kind answer, because it's true. It's not like this is what you want to do. Sometimes It's what the industry calls out for you to do. This is what the mindset is are taught to now believe that for you to be successful in a certain industry, you need to look a certain way, you need to be a certain way, you need to act a certain way. And it's no true fault of anyone. It's just what them in what people want to see. People want to see that perfection all the time. And does perfection really exist? It's a question we have to leave for another day because people are illusional. We all think it does exist and we expect that. Before I let you go, Oscar, I have to ask you this final question. What can we look forward to from you in your from Oscar upcoming, and what are you most excited to share with us?
So excitingly, lots of TV appearances, working with brands. That's all happening along the side my music, which is the most important thing. And so another song will be coming out very soon. So my debut single is actually a feature. This next track represents me and my story a lot more, and I feel really excited to share that with the world. So the song that's coming out very soon will be followed by another series of tracks as well. So that's all very exciting. And then various appearances and roles in various things will be coming out over the next few years.
Good. And if anyone wants to meet you in person, would you leave details on your Instagram page where you'll be making guest appearances, or how would they?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everything is all on my Instagram, Oscar Duke. So stay tuned like that, and hopefully enjoy the single and the next one that's coming out very soon.
Oh gosh, I can't wait to listen to the next one that's coming out. I've enjoyed this one, so I'm looking forward to your next one.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for being such a great talent, such a creativity person, and sharing your wonderful story of living with pain, living with any kind of circumstances, but being able to identify it and find your own creativity, your passion, and your joy. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me.